everyone, my name is Naya, and today I will be giving you everything that I know on the artistry of acrylic nails. Right now we will be covering volume 1, and that goes over sanitation protocols and prepping for any nail enhancements. Alright, so the first thing that I want to cover for you is sanitation. And with sanitation, I need you guys to understand that it is solely your responsibility. If you are not ready to tackle the needs that sanitation causes for, do not take any clients. When I speak of sanitation, I'm talking about the sanitation of your space, your client, and yourself. So for example, when your client first walks into the door, you must and please send them directly to go wash their hands. Wash their hands. As they're washing their hands, your hands should already be washed and you should be getting your set together. So from there, as you can see, we have this towel down and we have some materials here, and I'm going to show you all these materials, and then napkin. So for starters, in this little container here, this can be in a container like this. This can be stored in a plastic bag. We have all of our porous materials. Porous materials are any materials that water or germs, bacteria, anything like that can go through. Something that's not porous, for instance, is like your metal cuticle pusher. You could put that in water all day long and it's not going to soak through the metal. Whereas with a nail file, this is going to get soggy in 30 minutes. So these are all of my porous materials. Porous materials are never reused. You're not going to reuse a nail file, a nail buffer, a sanding band, a wooden pusher, anything like that. You do not reuse those items. From there, we have our sanitation pack. So in this sanitation pack, you're going to have everything that you sterilize. So because we know that we will never reuse a porous material, we would never sanitize or sterilize it. These items we can reuse. And here we have our plastic manicure brush, our cuticle nipper, our cuticle pusher, and our nail clipper, okay? These are in our sanitation pack. So our client has come in, we've done their nails, and what do we do with materials when we finish? For starters, this obviously goes in the trash. Our napkin goes in the trash. Every client gets a new towel. These get washed at the end of the day. If you can't wash every day, you put them in a dirty clothes hamper and you wash them at the end of your week, or whenever you can. Your items that are in this sanitation pack, you're first going to clean them. There is a very big difference between cleaning, disinfecting, and sterilizing. Cleaning is the mechanical procedure of you using soap and water to clean something. So, for example, as you see in this pack, we would use our manicure brush to clean our 3 other items, the nipper, the pusher, and the clipper. We would clean these with any type of antibacterial soap, rinse them off, pat them dry, and then we'll move into disinfection. With disinfection, we have what many people want to call barbicide. Barbicide is a brand. There are many different types of germicides, fungicides that you will use to disinfect your items. You are disinfecting or removing any type of harmful pathogens from your metal items. So you will make sure you follow the dilution on this, because you do have to dilute this down. You can't use it straight out the bottle. And you will sit those items in fully submerged jar for 10 minutes, no longer, because it can rust your items, okay? Please do not forget them, because you will throw away a lot of pushers, nippers, and clippers if you forget to take them out. Once you take them out, you will rinse them, fully dry them, and then this is where your pack comes, okay? This is not required by law, but for me, it gives me a lot of peace of mind. Once your items are fully dry, you put them in this sanitation pack, and then you would place this in a sterilizer machine for 25 minutes. That sterilizer machine will kill everything that could possibly be on your items. If anything's left over, good, bad, neutral, it's going to sterilize it. And the color will change, and you will know that it's ready to go. This pack right here, you can get these off Amazon. Just type in sterilization pouches. And I've also noticed now that if you type in sterilization pouches, it actually comes up for nails. So a lot of nail techs are using these to keep their items sterilized. Now, since you don't have to sterilize your items, you don't have to. Disinfecting is 100% the way they teach you in school. It's completely fine. Feel free to store your items separately in containers like this, in Ziploc bags, anything like that. Completely fine. So that covers sanitation, and we can move on to prepping. These no-lift prepping steps work for pretty much any nail enhancement, from acrylic nails, gel polish manicures, Gel X, polygel, and even creating long-lasting press-ons that last for at least 2 weeks. So to begin, I want to just teach you guys some quick little tidbits. The purpose of different materials that we have here. So we have this kind of nail file. This nail file is just for your natural nail. You won't file a nail with this. Like, you see how flimsy this is. This would not be fun for acrylic. These are for your acrylic nails, okay? And your tips, when you're shaping your plastic tips. We have 100 by 180. The higher the number, the finer it is. The lower the number, the more coarse it is. So this is an 80 by 80, so this is super, super coarse. So this is when you're trying to debulk, you're trying to take a lot of acrylic down. And then this right here is more so for fine tuning. If you have really good application, you don't need a super coarse file. So we also have our wooden pusher. And then in our sanitation pack, which we can now open, we have our manicure brush, which we will use to get rid of a lot of the dust. And then our nippers, if we have like any hangnails or anything like that. Our tip cutter, our nail clipper, and then our cuticle pusher. So I just want to show you guys the difference between both. They both do the same thing. This is just a metal one, which you can sanitize, disinfect, sterilize, and this one you would throw it away. So when you first begin, you want to start with filing the nails. You can clip them if they need to be clipped, but my client's nails are very short. So I'm just going to go through in one direction and just clean up the shape. So our shape is cleaned. Not much work to be done. And then I'm going to go through and push back her cuticles, okay? So when you're pushing back cuticles, you want to be very, very gentle, okay? Especially if you're using a metal pusher. Especially if you're using a metal pusher, you want to be gentle because this is skin. Like, this is, this could potentially be harmful to them. So always ask your client, are you comfortable? Is this, am I hurting you? Is this uncomfortable? And then you'll know, okay, let me use a little less pressure. So when we're pushing back when we're pushing back the cuticle, I'm going to give you guys some technical terms. This white that you see here on the nail plate, that is called eponychium, okay? This is what causes lifting. If you don't remove all of that from the nail plate, you're going to have lifting. Your nails are not going to last, okay? This live skin back here is cuticle. That's why there's like the debate of like, should I cut it? Should I not? Once you start cutting live skin, you're technically in the realm of a surgical procedure. So personally for me, I don't clip it unless it needs to be done. Unless I know for a fact it's dead, or if I clip it, it won't bleed, okay? So with that push, we now have shown this eponychium here. And now I know that's where I need to be focusing for my prepping. So I'm going to be showing you two different ways to prep. I'm going to show you with an e-file, an electric file. And I'm going to show you manually with a hand file. When I first started, I only used a hand file. I didn't ever use the e-file. I was super scared. I didn't want to hurt. I didn't want to burn. So I want to give you guys the option. So when you're doing this with the hand file, you want to use the less coarse side. So for me, that'd be my 180 side. You're going to go around the cuticle area in a kind of U motion like this. U motion. And get all the eponychium off the nail plate. You can even go up and down if you would like. So I'm going up and down. I'm etching. This is what we call etching the nail plate. I'm etching the nail plate. And then I'm going to take my nail file on its side in one direction, and I'm just dusting it. Please keep in mind that overfiling does lead to lifting. Unhealthy nails cannot and will not, in most cases, adhere to the acrylic in the best way possible. So please, once you see it's dusty, stop. Once you see the eponychium is gone, stop. Don't keep going, because now you're going to be contributing to a potentially less healthy nail. So again, on this nail, I'm going to do my side motion and then go up into the eponychium. You can do the eponychium first and then do the rest of the nail, or you can do the rest of the nail. This, with nails, nobody has the 100% formula of how things have to be done. Please tailor everything that I'm saying to you. If you try a way and you're like, let me try this out, try it, because you won't know until you do. Just because I'm doing it a certain way and I'm showing you how doesn't mean I'm 100% right and I'm 100% telling you have to do it this way or your nails won't come out great. It can completely be tailored. So I am just removing eponychium, etching the nail. And now we'll move into using our e-file. So we have our drill bit, and with this drill bit, we will be putting a sanding band on it. A sanding band is also a porous material, and you will never reuse this either. This is literally this. This is called a 100 by 180 zebra file because the edges are not as sharp as those black files. These still can cut you, but it's not as coarse as those black files. This is in this form, okay? I'm just gonna show you. It literally says fine 180 grit, so this is the same. So I'm gonna be putting this on my e-file. When you are prepping, your e-file should be very slow. When I say very slow, you should be able to do this to yourself without hurting, okay? So when you are using your e-file, you want to start at the cuticle area. Always have your pinky for an anchor, okay? And I'm going to start with this right corner, my right corner. And I'm going to I'm just gently going over the area. And I'm picking up the e-file. So I'm going, picking up, going, picking up, going, picking up. All the way around her cuticle area as I get this eponychium off so that she can have a lasting set. Okay? Once all that eponychium is off and I've gone from sidewall to sidewall, because these are called your sidewalls, I can then go across her nail plate and dust the rest. Very lightly. And there you have it. Again, I'm going around her nail plate very gently. I'm talking about I'm barely touching, okay? I'm like barely touching her. But follow through with your strokes. Follow through with your strokes. Once you place that nail file, go ahead, follow through and pick it up. You don't want to burn, so keeping it on, that's when you get those burning sensations. Especially at a low speed like this, you don't want to you feel like it's going so slow that you can keep going over a certain area, which in some cases you can, but especially as an unexperienced with an e-file, just follow through, go through what you're trying to do, and stop. Okay, so just a quick tip. If you have a client who has very thin nails and you're a little bit worried about overfiling, what you can do is go in with your e-file or with your nail file and just go around their cuticle area, and then you can come in with your buffer and buff the rest of their nail. You can always do that if you feel like, okay, her nails are a little bit thin. She goes get her nails done very frequently, not at the best nail salons. You can definitely help preserve her nail health doing that. So I am using my manicure brush to dust off. And then from here, we are ready for nail tips. Okay, so now we're moving on from getting our nail ready for the enhancement to now applying tips. So I use nail glue, KDS glue. This is just from my local nail supply store. And I have different tips over here. I'm going to show you with tips, and I'm going to show you one nail with nail form when we move into our acrylic application portion of the volume series. So for starters, I like to show you different ways to do things. So the first way that you can apply a nail tip is you can put your glue at the tip, but in the middle of the client's nail. Then you can come in with your tip and glue it on. You'll see literally the glue spread to the sides of the nail to catch that tip on there. And it glues fairly quickly. But if you must, hold it down for about 5 seconds and then it'll be ready to go. So that's our square tips, C-curve square tips. And then here I have a coffin nail tip. They're pretty long, so this is for people who do a lot of like double tipping, having to stack tips because they want super long nails. These kind of have like stop you from having to do that. So another way that you can apply your tips if you don't want to do the method where their hand is facing you, you can flip your client's hand and you can put the glue on the nail tip. So I set it right in the middle. You flip this nail around. You find the finger and you place the nail wherever you need it. This way you 100% will always have a straight nail tip. Sometimes the other way, for whatever reason, I just put them on a little crooked and it don't always work for me. So try it out, see which way you think will work better for you, and you can apply your tip. So the third nail tip we have is our stiletto. These are perfect for either stiletto nails if you're going to keep them super long, or your coffin. You cut this nail tip, you have a perfect coffin shape. So I really like these. These are long stiletto tips sold at our website. So I put the glue there. I glue my nail tip on again, and we're ready to go. So you're going to put some glue here. And then again, have that thumb as straight as you can in your view, because thumbs are also kind of tricky sometimes to place properly. And then if you ever want to reinforce your nail tip, you can always kind of drop a dab of glue right in the center. And again, you'll see it literally spread to the corners, especially if you missed any glue anywhere. So from here, we are ready to begin. Again, I'm going to keep that finger clear so that we can do some nail forms. So I'm going to show you short, medium, and 2 long nails just so that you can see the acrylic application in a larger canvas, okay? So for the pinky nail, I'll do that one. Let's do that one short. So I clip both sides and then I spin in the middle. You can also get a tip cutter. That's a little extra something if you want, but I just use a straight edge nail clipper. Buying a straight edge nail clipper when you're cutting your nail tips to get your shape perfect every single time. It gets it so perfect that you really don't have to file much before, and saves a lot of time throughout the process because, you know, you clip your nail tips, then you spend so much time filing. You apply your acrylic, it bulks your nail, and then you have to file more. So the straight edge helps you get as close to your shape as possible. Again, we have this coffin shape here. I'm going to make this nail medium, so I'll go down a bit further. And then for this shape, I want to do this a little bit skinnier coffin. So I'm going to go to the sides and I'm going to keep this finger straight. If the nail tip is attached to the skin because of glue, release it with your fingernail on the sides just to make sure that you don't clip them with the nail clipper. So I cut my first cut. And then I go up and make my second and final cut. Okay? Pull it off. Same for this side. First cut. Second cut. So for this shape, I'm going to do so this is like our square. This is our coffin. And then this will be our stiletto. But I'm going to show you how to do a stiletto from a square tip. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down as if it weren't a stiletto tip. And I'm going to show you how I would get a stiletto tip here. So I'm going to go in with these gold scissors. I got these so many years ago. Nail supply store, you can get some super sharp scissors. With your scissors, you're going to go to the middle point of that nail where you want your spike to be. And you're going to cut from that middle all the way to that side wall. Again, from the middle all the way to the side wall. Please beware of their skin on the side. And then again, if you need to sharpen it up, one more time. That's our rough stiletto right now. This is going to be for our nail form. And then again, for this nail, I'm going to leave this nail fairly long since it's a larger canvas. And you can see my acrylic application on a long nail. Okay. So from here, we have a square, we have a coffin, we have a stiletto, and we have, let's do tapered square. Okay, so for tapered square, you may not have to cut anything off the sides, but for this one, I'm going to cut just a little bit. So for here, we're going to just cut just a little off. So you see how this tip kind of has this area here, this like dip on the sides? We're just going to cut that area off. So very, very little, barely anything at all. Just so that you do less filing. The more you cut, the less filing you have to do. The closer to perfection, the less cleanup you have to do. So keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and do our shaping. One thing you're going to learn from me that some nail techs aren't really into is the shaping beforehand. I don't do a whole lot of shaping beforehand. I clean things up and then I move into my application because I'm a nail tech that I like to go. I like to really get into my application because with my application, it's really nice and clean. I don't have to do much filing. So I'm going to go into her side area here. And quick tip, if you feel like you want to make sure you don't cut your client, you can take 2 nail files and you can do what we call scoring the edge. So you're literally just take a nail file and kind of soften up that edge there just to make sure that you don't cut your client, especially if you use those black nail files. So I'll be using my 100 side of the nail file. Remember, we used the 180 for prepping. I'm going to go up a little bit and go to a more coarse. So I'm going to use this. And with this, you can go back and forth. I'm just going to clean up the square. So that's the square. Our coffin, I'm going to file a bit more because I want it to be skinnier. When you're holding your nail file for shaping, you want to hold it flush against this nail, straight up and down. Do not have your nail file tilted inward because then you're going to have that rounded off look that most of us, we don't want. We want it to be sharp and clean. So straight up and down, I'm going up to the ceiling. Okay. For our stiletto, a bit more work to be done. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get this nice and flush to the nail, but making sure to get our nails sharp. It's stiletto after all. As you can see, that is a sharp nail. Periodically, I do like to get the dust so I can see exactly what I'm working with. Then we're going to come to our tapered square. With the tapered square nail, we really don't have much to do like the others. So I say when you try to cut as much as you can, you don't have to work very hard. You don't have to work too hard. Try to get those jagged edges from your straight edge nail clipper cuts. Clean them up. Try not to leave too many jagged edges. You want to make sure that that side profile is nice and clean. Okay, so one of the final things that we're going to be doing now is called blending the tips. This can again be done with either your e-file or your nail file. Personally, for me, you're probably thinking she didn't hit the tips of her nails. And when I say hit the tips, I mean file the tip. I don't do that because I like to preserve the length. Because I don't have to file a lot, I try to keep that for after the acrylic is applied. I want to keep the nail as long or as short as they like it to be. And I don't want to get so preoccupied with making sure that this is super straight when I'm going to put acrylic on it and it might get wonky anyway. So I personally don't hit the tops. But if let's say your cut for your nail clipper was a little bit like, you can go ahead and just kind of clean up by going up and down. Or, again, you can flip that nail, and you can even file this way. And this is just me making sure that things are straight, just how I like it. So, I'll leave that there. So So now let's blend the tips. Personally, I tell my students to focus on the corners. Sometimes when you're using colored acrylic, the corners can peek through the acrylic. So let's say you're using a really beautiful bright red. Sometimes you can see a little clear through it and you're like, what is that? I didn't use clear acrylic. It's the tip. Or if your tip is natural color, because I use clear tips, be sure to blend those corners, especially the middle, not so much. You really can get away with not really blending the middle in unless you're doing a clear nail. Now, if you're doing like a glass look, you need to make sure that tip is blended because you don't want to see the difference between the natural nail and then where your clear starts. So with the nail file, again, using that softer side or that less coarse side, the 180 side, in one direction, because remember, although a nail tip is here, her nail plate is also here. So you doing a lot of filing can be potentially harmful. So again, going in one direction, especially in these corners, you're going to just blend that corner in. And sometimes you can't see how well you blend it. So just feel. Can you feel the ridge there, or has it lowered a little bit, or has it lowered a lot and you don't even feel it anymore? Try to find where you feel like, okay, let's stop here. For me personally, I say until you can't feel it anymore. But every nail set doesn't do it that way. So please, see what works best for you. So I'm going to blend until personally I can't feel that ridge anymore. And I'm trying to keep my nail file just on the nail tip. But of course, your human is going to hit the natural nail. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so I've blended those corners and I'm going to show you with the nail file one more time. I'm going in. Some tips are much thicker than others, so you may have to do this a little bit more. You can even take your nail file with the finger on top and just go up and down as if you were shaping almost. So to see on this side, just to get those corners. But as you see, which I want to stress to you, one direction. And I'm good with that. So now I'm going to show you with the E-file. With the E-file, from the speed that you use for prepping, you can go a little bit higher than that. You should still be able to put this E-file on your skin and it not hurt. But listen to the sound. Mine personally does not have the specific number, so I can't give you a specific number. But I'm at the point now where I fill it out, but you may not be there. So just remember or try to think about the sound. If it helps, just turn it on and then go a little bit up from that and just hear how loud it gets. Hear how quick it goes, okay? So still at a fairly slow speed. I'm going to start in this corner and I'm going in that one direction motion again, just focusing on that nail tip. So you see I go from this motion of just trying to blend that corner to now going across. I'm going across. And then again, I'm going to go in that downward motion when I get to this corner. Of course, an E-file is a bit quicker, but you can definitely get to the point where you can be just as fast as the E-file with the hand file. Because me personally, for my first 3 years, I only used a hand file and I was quick, baby. I was getting the nail sets in and out. So it's definitely possible for you to get quick. So again, we are just etching that nail plate. You can go, if you see I'm doing this, I'm not going up and down. Every time I come up, I'm picking my E-file up. I'm picking it up. Now I'm just blending these corners. I'm trying to stay off her natural nail. I want to preserve its health. And with that, I'm done. I'm going to stop there. So from here, we are so close to application. We're going to go in and we're going to dehydrate and prime. Now, let me teach you some stuff right quick. With dehydrator, you don't necessarily have to buy a dehydrator. Some people call dehydrator bonder. All dehydrator is acetone. Acetone, 100% acetone. A dehydrator is just trying to take all the oils out that nail. Remember in the beginning, I told you as soon as your client comes in, they should go directly to wash their hands. Make sure you have a good degreasing soap because that'll help get some oil off that nail plate. But let's say they came back and they touched their hair, they touched their face or anything like that. They may have some oil residues. Your dehydrator is going to snap that out, okay? So I'm going to use my dehydrator. I'm going to dehydrate all 10 nails. Now, don't rush right to prime because I teach my students to double prime. You can overprime, and overpriming can lead to lifting, but double priming is the perfect medium of the priming scenario, okay? So I'm gonna take my nail brush. I'm gonna get as much dust, all of dust if you can, off. Dust leads to lifting, so please do not skip this step. Please do not use the fluffy brushes. You cannot sanitize them. You cannot sterilize them, disinfect them, any of that. But also, they don't get all the dust off. It's just pretty. It's cute, but it doesn't get the job done. Your manicure brush, your plastic manicure brush, is going to do the job for you. So now we'll go in with our dehydrator or acetone, whichever you choose. And I'm going to go over all 10 nails to get all of the oils off of the nail plate. Before you put this brush back in your bottle, I always say to wipe it, because think about it, so many dust and germs and stuff goes back in and dilutes this down. You want to try to keep your products that you buy as long as possible. This stuff isn't cheap. So wipe your brush off on your clean napkin and move on. So with this nail, because it doesn't have a nail tip on, I want you to look at how dry it makes the nail. Like, it sucks all of the moisture out of that nail. And again for the thumb. And then we're good to go. So from here, we're going to prime. This is going to be the first time that we prime. We're then going to prime again, and I'll show you when you prime again in the application section. But I will go ahead and prime. Try to keep the primer off of the client's skin. So the primer that we sell is acid-free, so you shouldn't have any types of reactions unless you're actually allergic to the ingredients. But with acid primers, which do their job just as good, they can sometimes irritate the skin, so just be mindful of that when you purchase your primers. You can purchase an acid primer, acid-free primer, or acid-less primer. They all work just as good, and you can read that in your My Lady textbook. And you will see that they all work well, but just some cause reaction more than others. So here we have done our no lift prime method, and we are ready for any type of application, whether that be acrylic, gel, polygel, Gel X, anything like this. This method is great for the no lift method of applying nails. All right, well, I hope that you learned some new concepts for your sanitation and prep procedures, and I'll see you in the next volume.